Hey everybody, Ian Lee here. Today, I'm going to share something with you. Something the musical powers that be don't want you to know. Yes, it is true. You can improvise over any song using only one scale. Shh, don't tell anybody. Let's go take a closer look. Now, I'll be using a jazz standard called All of Me and its first few chords to make my point. I will be using some music theory terms here. If you don't understand them, it's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. Music theory is simply a way to communicate about and describe sound. You can take it as far as you want, depending on your musical needs or just how far you want to go with it. I liken it to traveling. If you want to just walk down the street, you'll need your legs. If you want to fly around the world, you'll need much bigger and complex machinery to get that done. But either way, don't worry about it. It is just music, after all. For this example, I'll be playing in the key of C major. It's the key I play All of Me in. C major has no sharps or flats, and it's all white keys on the piano, which gives us a simple format to work with in our discussion. Our first chord is C major 7. Naturally, our C major scale accents this chord just fine. The next chord in our song is an E7. Let's see how this all fits together. E7 is spelled E, G sharp, B, and D, and is not a naturally or diatonically occurring chord in the key of C. Let's spell our C major scale from the note E. So we will retain all the same notes from our original C major scale, but we'll start on E and we'll end on the E an octave above. This is what musicians are referring to when they use the term mode or modes. Let me show you. Now, let's see how this fits over our E7 chord. Remember, E7 is spelled E, G sharp, B, and D. In this current version of our scale, we have 3 out of 4 chord tones for E7. The tones that remain might be considered outside or tense, but they're wonderful sounds. We have F, the flat 9, G, the sharp 9, or if you like, the minor third, A, the 11, and C, the flat 13. Now, we haven't changed anything. Simply by the song moving forward and changing naturally, our notes have a different sound and feel according to their new harmonic context. Let's talk about one more chord. Granted, I could go on, but I think you get my point, and there are some other things I want to touch on. Our next chord is an A7. A7 is spelled A, C sharp, E, G. Let's take the same concept as earlier, spelling out C major, but now from A to A. If we do a little surgery, removing the 2nd and 6th scale degrees, we now have A minor pentatonic. Pentatonics are a huge part of our Western sound. They're also used heavily in blues music. In general, a really great and common use of the minor pentatonic scale is to use it over a dominant chord with the same name, as in our current example of A minor pentatonic with A7. We again get 3 chord tones, as well as our minor third or sharp 9 and the 11 or 4. Now, I recognize that this is just one instance, one song, and even just a few chords from one song. So I don't mean to be so extreme in my generalization of the one-scale-fits-all approach. However, I do have another point that I'm trying to make altogether, and that's that it doesn't matter as much as we think it matters, or as much as we make it matter. The reality is that there are so many elements that come together to make music sound and feel the way that it does when we're listening to it or expressing it ourselves. And scale to chord relationships are really just one facet of the beautiful gem that is music and its expression. In Victor Wooten's book, The Music Lesson, Victor's teacher, Michael, says that musicians often struggle because they are unfamiliar with these other elements of music. Often as we begin to explore music further, we want to educate ourselves, we want to learn more about how it operates, how to construct it, how to deconstruct it. We can get so fascinated with one or two of these elements that we forget about the others. Some of these other elements are groove, feel, dynamics, space, phrasing, and these things are so valuable and equally important in the expression and exploration of music. So in the examples I made earlier in this video, I displayed from a music theory perspective how one scale over multiple chords could be perceived to be the technically correct notes. Now, if we add in the other elements of music, our one scale, our one perspective, our seemingly limited perspective becomes infinite in possibility. One note even can have a vast amount of meaning depending on how it's placed and where you place it. I'd like to quote or maybe even paraphrase John Coltrane rather, because I may not get this exactly right. But he said something along the lines of, "Damn the notes, it's the feeling that counts. You're going to play all 12 notes in your solo anyways." To round this all off, I want to clarify. I'm not saying don't learn more about music, music theory, history, your genre, your instrument, your craft. If anything, I want to encourage you to go further into the things that excite you and further into learning as much as you can. It will only open more doors and more possibilities for you. But I want to remind you not to get too wrapped up in or be overwhelmed by any one aspect of what you're exploring and studying at that time. It is just music after all. So remember to let go and have fun in the midst of your growing and your changing. That's it for today's video, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. I'll be putting out new content every week on Sundays. And of course, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, leave them in the comment section below. What are you working on right now? Are you feeling stuck somewhere in your music, your practice? Let me know. I want to hear about it. Let's get a conversation going. Until then, love to you and all you strive for.